We need to talk about Dan Houston's comments on 3AW. Let's unpack them. So I'm back after a couple of days rest. That trade period was massive. Following that from overseas was insane. So I got to Amsterdam, just wanted to have a couple of days off to enjoy myself, fall in love with the city. And it was absolutely beautiful. But we're back in the thick of it. I'm in Berlin now. Let's talk about Dan Houston comments, what they mean, what I think of them, because there's so many people in my DMs asking me my thoughts, and because I haven't posted about them, let's do it. So recently, Dan Houston went on 3AW to talk about his move to the Pies, the failed move with Carlton, and this is what he had to say.
I've been pretty open to where I want to play. I've had preferences throughout the whole time.
Okay.
Carlton being one of them. And yeah, I spoke to Vossi, and then we had some open conversations. You know, I've got a good relationship with him, and I wanted to play with him for him, and he wanted to have me in the team. And it didn't look like throughout the whole time the Blues could get the deal done.
And you really can't begrudge him for saying that. So Michael Voss obviously worked with him at Port Adelaide. They had a good relationship there, seemingly. He wanted to play for Carlton, and that's totally fine. Like, he wanted to play for Carlton. Voss wanted him to play for Carlton. And if he had gone to Carlton, it would have elevated them to just absolutely different heights next season. And they would have been fucking scary. They would have been super scary with Dan Houston running off the half-back line. But for one reason or another, they really liked the draft. And when they got that pick 14, I thought, oh, okay, they're going to, because they didn't want to trade that pick 12 for Dan Houston. So they were trying to get 13 off Gold Coast. Then they got pick 14. And I thought, oh, okay, here we go. This is what they're going to sort of give. They're going to offer 14, something else. Then Dan Houston's going to go to them. And then they traded it for pick 3. And as soon as that happened, it kind of told me and maybe Houston and his management that Carlton just weren't interested in Houston all of a sudden. They wanted to get high up the draft, and that's their prerogative. That's fine with them. But it really opened the door for Collingwood to, no pun intended, literally swoop in and grab Dan Houston. Now, Dan Houston also said this.
Every day there for a bit, it sort of chopped and changed. The Blues were in, the Blues were out, Collingwood were in front. And for me, I just sort of sat back from all of that sort of stuff and waited until Paul said, what the best deal was going to get it done. And, in the end, it was Pies. I'm super happy it was the Pies because, that was one of my preferences throughout the whole year.
Must be exciting for someone like you, Dan.
Yeah, it is. As I said, I've been pretty open-minded the whole time, and once the Pies sort of really came into the picture over the last 5 or so days, I've been able to really wrap my head around what it would mean to play for them and play in those big games and play with some teammates that I know and play under Fly. And all the fans have been, super supportive, and it's such a nice feeling walking into a big club like that and have such a nice reception.
So it's not like Collingwood was just the second choice date that he didn't want to go on and then reluctantly went on it anyway. Collingwood was always a preference. He had said from the start that he wants to play for a big club. Carlton's a big club. The Pies are an even bigger club. And obviously Port Adelaide are a big club as well. Now, the thing with him choosing to go to Collingwood, he didn't have to. He was more than happy, and Port Adelaide were more than happy to have him stay at Port Adelaide because he was contracted with them for a few more years. So him choosing to come to the Pies after, Nick Dacos getting in his ear, he was friends with John DeGoey, with Darcy Moore, Billy Frampton. So he has a lot of connections through the club. He went on to say that he wants to play in, those super big games, and he wants to play under Fly and seeing what we can do. And the fans have given him a great reception as well. So I think there's been a little bit of online chatter like, oh, he doesn't even want to play for Collingwood. He just went there because, he needed to get out of Port Adelaide and all this sort of stuff. And I don't think that's the case at all. Like, I think, yeah, his first preference would have been Carlton. Like, 1,000, that's fair enough. My first preference would be to be in Europe for 3 months and traveling around for 3 months. But that wasn't going to work out. So I'm like, okay, let me change my plans. Let me see what else I can do that's going to benefit me the most. And what's going to benefit Dan Houston the most is going to Collingwood, because he wants to go to Collingwood because he had those relationships at Collingwood. And now, where Carlton would have prospered with Dan Houston on the back line, we are going to just bloom. We are absolutely going to bloom with Dan Houston in the back line. Yeah, we probably won't see Houston and Nick Dacos in the back line running off at the same time, but if Dan Houston can get it to Nick Dacos, they're going to link up so many times while Nick's playing through the middle. It is just such a tantalizing prospect. And you have to think that we went into this trade period from what we knew as fans as pretty much no chance to really bring anyone in. And then Carlton started wavering with their Dan Houston interest. North Melbourne was never going to happen. He went on, he was going to go to Melbourne. Remember, this all started with Melbourne. He was going to play with Melbourne. He was going to go to Melbourne, but Melbourne had all that off-field drama and all this sort of shit happening that they blew it up in their own face. And then it was Carlton. So if anything, Carlton was the second preference, if you want to look at it like that way, because his first preference was to get to the Melbourne Demons, and that didn't work out because they shot themselves in the foot. Then Carlton went on a different path, and they can do whatever they want. And Collingwood stayed firm as, if we're going to meet with him, we're wanting to get him any way that we can get him. And now we've got one of the best players, at least one of the best players in the top 20 of football at the moment. Champion Data, I've always said this, Champion Data have ranked him 15th last season, or this season that just passed, however you want to say it. So we are getting a star of the AFL off that half-back line, running through, breaking the game open. He can pinch hit in the centre. He can kick a long goal from 60 out if he really bloody needs to. It is just absolutely tantalising. So if you're a Collingwood supporter watching this, which you probably all are anyway, or most of you, I wouldn't be too I wouldn't take too much notice of what he said. I know the media likes to just clip that, and I've seen it on articles and stuff. I wanted to play for Voss. I wanted to play for Carlton. But then you hear what he says about Collingwood just 10 seconds later, and it all starts to change. It just didn't work out with Carlton, and Collingwood benefit from it, and Dan Houston benefits from it. Now he gets to play at a huge club, the biggest club in the land, the biggest club in Australia, and he's going to absolutely love it there, and we're going to cheer him on, and it is going to be incredible to see when he's back, because we know that he's still got that suspension. He still has to serve that suspension. So when he's back, it's going to blow the MCG off. Hopefully we get to see him in action at the MCG in, not opening round, obviously, in round one or whatever they're going to call it this season. But let me know your thoughts down below. What did you think of the comments? What do you think of the way the media portrayed the comments? And just any thoughts about Dan Houston, the Blues, the Pies in general. Let me know your thoughts down below. But until then, like, comment, subscribe, tell your family, tell your friends, tell your pets. And until next time, double shackers. I'll swoop you later.